Okay. Who do we have here?
George and Sierra.
So we've got, let's see.
You do the thing where you get your password reset and you wait until like day left. Yeah.
No, he's just Lou's a voter, Bruce is a voter, Eric's a voter. You, Sarah, and George are
Well,
voters.
she's magical. It's over trying to be more secure about passwords for having which requires a person to keep track of it.
Andrew Brewer is,
So if you got my master sheet, like
yeah.
I'm exposed. Well, it's still like, like thumbprint and that stuff. Like all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, you should have your password this time. You're like bank account or something. I'm like, it's supposed to auto load.
Six.
Good to go. All right, we're good to go on video tonight. Welcome. It is 4:03, and you are at a Plan Commission of the City of Wausau on November 26th. And we will get, we have one member missing, but we do have a quorum. First up would be approval of the minutes from September 17th. I would entertain a motion. Motion from Balkin, second from Borneman. All in favor? Signify by saying aye. Any opposed or questions? And that passes. The second item up is a public hearing, discussion on amending section 23.10.31, the zoning map amendment. And this is a housekeeping item. And I think that is going to be Bill Hebert.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So this is a continuation of a request that we had made last fall. The legislature has stopped the ability for communities to have a supermajority petition for zoning amendments. So the plan here is just to remove that requirement and to comply with the state legislation. We're supposed to have it done by December of this year. So basically, there's no, they prohibit the neighbors from petitioning to make the zone change be approved by a 3/4 vote. It's just a simple majority.
Okay, so that sets up the item. Do we have anyone from the public here looking to speak to this issue today? And I'll ask a second time, looking for any input, any discussion on the zoning map amendment as presented by Mr. Hebert. And final offer for members of the public to offer input on the zoning map amendment, section 23.10.31. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and take the next possible discussion and action on amending the section 23.10.31 zoning map amendment as described by Mr. Hebert.
Motion to approve.
Motion from Balkinen, second from Borneman. Comments, discussion? All in favor of adopting the zoning map amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Up next, another public hearing. This is the public hearing for the discussion of rezoning 700, 804, 806, 810, 814, and 816 Grand Avenue from an urban mixed use to a planned unit development, and approving the general development plan, GDP, for a 50-unit apartment building. And that would be, we'll give that to Andrew to set up for us. Mr. Lynch.
Yes, thank you. So just quick overview here before the public hearing. This is a rezoning from UMU, urban mixed use, to a PUD for what is basically the corner of Thomas and Grand. There's 6 addresses, 5 parcels in that group. And this is for the purposes of putting a 50-unit apartment building on that site. The site is very challenging, just in shape and location, but it is the Commonwealth Development has received state tax credits to be able to build affordable rate housing at that location, and they've been able to get their plans to fit on that site. They do need some flexibility with the rear setback being decreased to 0, increased density to above 36 units, which are allowed in the UMU, and fewer parking spaces. So in the report there, you'll see we have the criteria for approval, which is kind of how staff evaluates a PUD proposal, and that's how the Plan Commission and Council are making their findings with respect to these criteria. So there's 10 of those. I think just the last one is non-applicable, but we can get into more depth with that. And then we also have we have Tyler from Commonwealth, the developer. We have Josh from M&A, who did the design, and we also have the surveyor, Dustin Vreeland. So welcome to hear from them a little bit on their plans as needed. So
Thank you. So we can open it up for the public hearing, and we can have Tyler, if you'd like to speak at this point.
Yep, absolutely.
That would be great in case there's other public comment coming up behind you.
First and foremost, my name is Tyler Sheeran with Commonwealth Development. For some of the new faces, as you guys have probably recall, or some of you, we previously went through a rezoning process on this development in anticipation of submitting to WIDA for the low-income housing tax credits. At that time, we were seeking the UMU approval, as Andrew alluded to. We were fortunate enough to receive the tax credits, as Andrew mentioned, and then following the receipt of that funding source, we were able to get further down the line, engaging Vreeland through the surveyor front, and then continuing conversations with design and engineering. And at that time, kind of later discovered the municipal lines that are currently out on site. And so presented some kind of unforeseen conditions, if you will. But with that, I commend the gentleman sitting behind me for being able to work through that with city staff to ultimately reconfigure the site, maintain the 50 units that we promised to WIDA for the financing. But with that, it now requires the approval of a PUD, simply because through that reconfiguration, we do not conform with the UMU.
Thank you, and we'll continue with the public hearing, and we'll have opportunity for questions when we get to that point. Anyone else desiring to speak during the public comment section? Second call. And again, for the public hearing for discussion of the rezoning for their urban mixed use for the Commonwealth Development Project for 50 units. Last chance. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing and move on to that discussion item next here. Item 5, discussion and action, or possible action on rezoning said property 700, 804, 806, 810, 814, 816 Grand Avenue from urban mixed use UMU to planned unit development PUD, and approving the general development plan, GDP, for a 50-unit apartment building from M&A Designs for Commonwealth. I would entertain a motion to, for that rezoning.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Balkinen,
I'll second.
second from Borneman. So we have a motion and a second. Comments, questions? Mr. Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I won't be supporting this because I have concerns of, it's not the development that I won't be supporting, but I have safety concerns about, 50 units, that's going to be at least 75 more vehicles going in and out of that intersection a day, and especially during, busy time and stuff, when Colby and Colby gets out, that there's just no way it's going to work. And so I will not be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with comments, questions? Got it. Okay. Yes, sir. Mr. Barnum.
Just so we're all on the same page with this, or I get on the same page. The only thing we're doing at this point is approving it as a PUD, correct?
That is correct.
And it's going to come back to us for specific
The specific, and then there's another,
site
yes.
implementations and everything like that. Because when looking at it and looking at this intersection, I kind of have the same concerns. It's a busy place. And I don't know what it's going to change when they redo the intersection there. And I understand there's plans to redo that, and if that would alleviate some of that or not. So when we get to that point. And then I also have concerns about it falls short of the required parking and for that many units. And I'm just wondering if they can't park on site, where do they park in that area? But I understand that's going to come later. At this point, I'll support it becoming a PUD, but I think we're going to have to take a long look at it once it comes to the table for the implementation of it.
Thank you. Mr. Lynch, did you want to add something?
Just a couple notes. The Grand Avenue, Thomas Street and that intersection are, the current traffic levels are within their design limits. And, so you have the exit out onto the entrance and exit on Grand, and that's basically just going to be a right in, right out as it's designed due to the median there. So that, that limits some of that impact. You're not going to have people sitting there trying to make a left turn. And then, it's, we kind of feel that people will adapt as they find the ways to be able to easily get in and out of that site. So I think it's well within the design. We, on that parcel, we reserved room along Grand for DOT to be able to do any kind of changes to the road that they have in upcoming projects. And, if the project's there, DOT can design around it as well. So, and that's something that DOT has on the docket potentially for 2030, but there's no guarantee of that project going on. So lots of options lots of ways that could either happen or not happen as well. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I guess just to add to the base zoning district right now is urban mixed use, so it's a commercial district, and generally commercial it would allow a commercial development there now, which would generate a lot more traffic than a residential project such as this. I know the units seem high, but the traffic generated from those units is actually relatively small if you look at what could go there from a commercial perspective. So I would say, that wasn't really a concern. Again, with the capacity of the roadway, could certainly handle a lot more traffic. And again, DOT's looking at improvements to that intersection that would help it even further. In terms of parking, there isn't, we can address it in the specific if you'd like, but, we have a guideline, a ratio that that's in our ordinance. We can, in fact, reduce that. This zoning district is flexible, but even in a regular zoning district, we have a mechanism to reduce it by, I believe it's 50% bill by conditional use. So there are ways that parking requirement can be reduced, and we found with other projects that 1.5 is, it's in our ordinance. It's potentially something to shoot for, but it's generally more than is needed for a project like this. So going under that, we don't see as a problem.
Further questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the rezoning of the property known as 700 Grand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, we have one opposed, that passes. Item 6, similar, or not similar, but it's on the same property, different item for this property. It's a discussion and possible action on vacating and discontinuing certain right-of-way along East Thomas Street, abutting a portion of 700 Grand Avenue, and vacating a portion of right-of-way formerly known as 804, 806 Grand Avenue, 810 Grand Avenue, 814 Grand Avenue, and 816 Grand Avenue. And this did come to us from Infrastructure and Facilities. Looking for a motion? Motion from Borneman.
I'll second.
Second from Balkin. Comments, questions? Mr. Linden.
Yeah, I'd be voting against this vacation at this point in time, just because we don't have a developer's agreement approved by the city council yet. And I would also say that this site from the beginning is challenged. I realize that the design has changed. It was shifted south, which I think made some improvements, but I still think that there's ingress and egress issues on this site, and there will be. So I think until, I couldn't support the vacation of the right-of-way at this point in time until the developer's agreement, I think until the city council, until there's a site-specific plan that's approved, gets approved. But from an engineering standpoint, I think the site has many challenges moving into the future when we're talking about a site that'll be here for decades. And so I just want everybody to know from our stance and from the stance from the beginning of this project, what engineering and DPW has. And so I'll be voting against the vacation of this right-of-way.
Thank you. And this would not go to council until the 10th, correct? At the
Correct.
earliest?
That's correct. So it did come to us from INF, who voted unanimously in favor of it. Whatever our recommendation will go to council with basically two votes, recommending votes, and council decide. Have the
Okay.
final say.
And what was the vote in INF, do you recall?
I believe it's in the packet, 5-0 from someone on INF that was there.
Sorry, I didn't check it.
Yeah, 5-0 at INF.
Thank you. Further questions, comments on this? Mr. Borneman.
The city doesn't have an agreement right now, and I don't know if time is of the essence of this, that it needs to be approved at this time? Or can we hold it in committee or in commission until such time that's done?
I think we could, but we are only going to have one more council meeting this year. Your call.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at others in the room on their thoughts.
Mr. Fayford.
Thank you, everybody. I think when looking at this, so the reason that we were bringing it forward at the time we was part of the development agreement and trying to come up with a concise property description for this site. Some considerations that we've been going through as part of this is you'll see where the numbers along Grand Avenue are. As part of the RFP that we sent out as part of this project, we wanted to reserve an additional 20 feet of right-of-way for Grand Ave or whatever future infrastructure is needed along that stretch. So I guess what I'm saying is we could delay it, but at the same time, this similar council item was also taken up, I believe, in October, in a very similar way, talking about the DOT reimbursement as part of this parcel, which has already been approved by council. We talked a little bit about the vacation. I understand this is part of that process. But I don't think it needs to be taken up at this time. We could take it along at the same time the development agreement was brought forward, but that would require some coordination between Plan Commission as well as Economic Development Committee and Finance. So clear as mud on my answer.
Thank you.
I think part of it is, I mean, from my stance, there's been some changes with the DOT. Initially they weren't going to reconstruct Grand, so it wasn't, and then that came forward later. I would like to see them come together, to see how that happens. But, I just feel like if the city vacates that right away right now, and for some reason this project doesn't go forward, we relinquish our ability to go back to the DOT and get reimbursed for the cost of that property. So that's, at this time, I realize that the council approved, to be able to do that, but the DOT is pretty clear that once this right of way gets vacated, then we absolutely relinquish our ability to recoup that if this project for some reason doesn't go forward.
Okay. And I don't know if someone would have a different opinion or an opinion that would allow us to move this forward more conjoined. Go ahead. See.
Yeah, talking with the city attorney, I think if we wanted to wait on it, we could and bring them forward at the same time, just based on Mr. Lindman's comments on that. If there's concern about the project not happening, development agreement not, and losing that reimbursement, that's fair. What's that? Well, if the plan commission acted on it, we could hold off on council until we brought them forward at the same time. That's probably sometime in early 2025.
Yeah, there's no time constraint on this, right? Like, if Plan Commission takes action, there's no time constraint on us, if it was held for a month or two, right?
Or there's an option to table. I mean, if you put it on the table and bring it off the table at a future meeting, it would have to come back through this commission. I think the other option is just to vote on it here and then not send it to council until everything else is ready. But that's a little less clear from staff's or from everyone's perspective on when it would actually be going to council.
Yeah, in terms of from the city perspective, absolutely agree with the point that if the project doesn't happen, we don't want to hand away that potential DOT reimbursement in the future either. That's something that we want to keep in the back of our minds, and I think it makes sense for that final decision for council to happen at the same time. So that those are both on the same agenda, and it's clear what we're doing. But if Plan Commission will move it along, I guess the question is can we hold it, or is the process required as part of a vacation like this, that it needs to move forward to council in some specified time?
I don't think we're aware of
Well,
any
yeah.
stipulation like that. I mean, I think there could be a condition that this goes to council when it passes ED committee and that action goes to council.
No.
I don't think that would be inappropriate.
Yeah, I'm only aware of
isn't
one
the
other
driver-
process that I've gone through like this. And I know there's a lot of different steps that you have to go through in terms of getting different approvals. I'm not aware of there any, after Plan Commission acts, the council must act within 30 days or something like that.
No, there is no limit on that at all. But if we have time, I mean, what's the downside if we do table it? Any?
I just thought, this is a INF item, and it's a pass-through for plan commission, ultimately it's gonna be decided by council, why table it here?
We do have a motion and a second. We can, go ahead.
I would say probably vote on it and
All
send
right.
it on to council whenever that happens.
So we have a motion and a second, and we can take a vote on that. Go ahead.
Can we condition our recommendation to council that it, that it has a condition to be met, and that's the agreement being reached? Because the agreement would be, the developer's agreement would be then done at that point that you would, that it's a goal. And then it would hit council?
Well, I would think that if, staff and, if
Okay.
we work on the developer's agreement, we say that we won't bring one without the other, I think, if you're
Okay.
comfortable with that, I think by consensus, I think that would be fine.
Okay.
At least
Yeah, I
from
think,
my point.
and as chair, I can hold it. Generally, the chair and the staff present it to the council when it's ready. We can incubate it until it's ready. You okay with that?
I think so.
So we do have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of vacating and discontinuing that right away as described, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
2 noes,
2 noes.
4 yeses.
4-2. Thank you. Up next, item 7 is discussion and possible action on the final plat for Green Tree Meadows, and that also passed from INF to us. I forgot who was setting that up. I think Brad was.
Sure, I can take this. So in the packet is the final plat for the Green Tree Meadows subdivision. This is out 68th, 72nd Avenue area. Since the preliminary plat went through, staff has been working with the builders and the surveyors to put together the plat as well as a developer agreement that's still in draft form, but will be executed as part of the approval. So some minor changes from the preliminary, nothing too drastic. I guess engineering staff and planning staff were in favor of the plat. It did pass INF unanimously as well. I guess as part of the INF approval, the alderperson for the area would like to have a information meeting with the neighbors to the south. I don't see any of them here this evening, but we'd work with the development team on setting up that meeting and just giving the neighbors a heads up on what's to come. So staff recommends approval.
Thank you. And I should take a motion on that. Motion
I'll make the
from
motion,
Lars.
Mr. Chair.
Motion from Larson,
I'll second.
second from Watson. Seeing any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving final plat for Green Tree Meadows, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. Up next is item 8, discussion and possible action for the landmarking of Marathon County Home and Hospital, also known as 1200 Lakeview Drive. This was unanimously passed by the Historic Preservation Commission, and I do see Alder Gisselman here if he's interested in talking to that, or Brad, did you want to say?
Yeah, I can just set it up. I guess procedurally, the Historic Preservation Commission holds a public hearing on new landmarkings. They did that in August. There was a pause in the process requested by the county to give them more time to research our landmarking ordinance. The commission did give them that extra month. We held another meeting in September, and the commission, there was no input from the county. The commission did go ahead and recommend the landmarking based on its historic value. And I guess the process is for planning commission to also take the matter up, and there's actually slightly different criteria for the plan commission than for the Historic Preservation Commission. Those are in the memo there. Basically, it's about the development of the city and the effect on the public interest. And in this particular case, looking at those, staff did not see any reason for recommending against the landmarking. In other words, we recommend in favor of it, noting that, preserving historic properties is in the public interest of the city. So I guess staff recommends approval.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to landmark designate. Motion from Watson, second from Larson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. Up next, item 9 is a discussion and possible action on approving Native American land acknowledgement marker in River Life Park. This came to us from some Wausau residents several months ago in some work that they had done, working with the area tribes, doing some research, and put it in the hands of staff, and we came up with some verbiage and a location. There's the verbiage and a location. So we're at a point where quite a bit has been done. It went through the Arts Commission, because the arts helps us locate any type of statue or monument or artwork in the city, and then again in parks, who will be responsible for having it in their area. Brad, did you want
Yeah.
to take it?
Sure. Yeah, that's true. They did, both committees reviewed it and recommended approval of it unanimously. What was handed out tonight is just a wording change to the lettering on the plaque. There's basically just a spelling. There was some discussion, just came up the last couple days, actually. Just some different thoughts on how it should be spelled in the Ho-Chunk language, if I'm representing that accurately. So what was handed out is that spelling correction to the name. Other than that, it's the same as what is in the packet. And this, I guess, comes to us from the Thomas Guard family, who's in attendance for any questions. But they've been working hard on it for several months and doing their due diligence. And I guess staff feels that it's at a point that it should keep moving forward. This would go to council for final approval. It was scheduled to go tonight, but it's we've kind of discussed maybe holding off on final council approval until there's been a little bit more engagement with the local folks from the tribe. So we would take that to council in the near future once some of those connections have been made. But at this point, I guess we feel it's ready to keep moving forward.
So I would entertain a motion. Is that a motion?
Yes, plus I also just wanted to comment.
Okay, motion from Watson, second from Larson. Alder Watson.
Oh, so I've been on every committee that has heard about this, so it's amazing. I think it's a great effort by those folks, and I think just how much they've really looped in all the parties that would need to weigh in on this. So I think it's an admirable effort, so thank you so much. So I'm looking forward to having this up.
Thank you. So the format that it is approved, we're approving the location, we're approving the form, the sign type. And as Brad mentioned, there may be some more back and forth on the verbiage, and just to approve some of the historical facts that were presented, so that everybody has some input into this. And any further comment? Seeing none, I would, all those in favor of approving the Native American Land Acknowledgement Marker in River Life Park signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Thank you. The exact date where that will come forward will be no sooner than the 10th of December, but it could be later. We'll get it there as soon as it's staff ready. Up next, Item 10, discussion and possible action on approving the Boy with the Boot sculpture on 3rd Street and Jackson Street. So if you recall, this is the old Boy with the Boot sculpture that was in the mall until the mall was torn down. And it was prior to that, it was in Hammond Park since the 1920s. So it's kind of a land, or it's a icon of the city. We'd like to get it back somewhere where it makes sense. Would entertain a motion to approve Boy with the Boot sculpture at 3rd and Jackson.
Also make the motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Larson, second by Watson. Comments, questions, concerns? The item will be outdoors, summer weather type times. It'll be brought in during the winter there to preserve it. Not seeing any further comments, questions. All those in favor of placing Boy with Boot, 3rd and Jackson, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Well, we have until 5:15 if anyone else has to. Next meeting date is Tuesday, December 17th at 5 PM, same location. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion from Watson. Second. Bulkin, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? See ya.